Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you decided to click on this video. Today I'm going to talk about some 5-star predictions of books that I have had for some a long time, some a little time, but ones that I am committed to reading soon. I know, I don't want to hear it if I've already talked about these and said that before. Leave me alone. Now, I always love watching these videos because I always like to see how well people know their own taste and if the books that they think they're gonna love that they actually do end up loving. So hopefully you will enjoy this, and perhaps in a couple weeks or months you'll be able to see if I did in fact find these to be 5-star reads. So let's just go ahead and get started. So the first book is actually one that I just got in the mail and is not yet released, and that is Better Left Unsent by Leah Lewis. So I've read a book by this author. I've actually read 2 of them. One of them was called The Key to My Heart, and the other one was called Dear Emmy Blue. Now, The Key to My Heart was one that I loved. It was easy 5 stars. It was so heartfelt, heart-wrenching, like it just really spoke to me. It's one of the very few books in the world that's ever made me shed a tear, and it was just so great. Now, this one seems to be a little more like a comedy, sort of in the vein of Sophie Kinsella, who is definitely an author that I love so much. So I'm hoping that this will be similar. It's kind of like a women's fiction, which is a term I don't necessarily love, but you know what I mean. And there's like a hint of romance. You could call it a rom-com, but I just think that the romance is going to be a secondary part of the story, which is generally how Sophie Kinsella's books are as well. And also the cover just really reminds me of a Sophie Kinsella book. But this one is about a woman named Millie who had a bad breakup and is just always on guard. She keeps to herself. She just was really torn up about this breakup. And one thing that she does to kind of feel empowered is write emails to whoever and just not send them, but she like goes off about whatever she wants to talk about, things that she'd never truly say. And this includes like sarcastic replies to her boss and things to her friends that she would never say to them, and of course like a long declaration of love to her ex-boyfriend. And after a server outage at work, all of these emails get sent that were sitting in her drafts. And so then she has to kind of put her life back together after all of that. So I just think this sounds adorable. I think it sounds like it'll be really fun, like kind of lighthearted, because I do have some maybe heavier books in here. I've been really needing a little bit of lightheartedness in my reading. I've been really busy, working a lot, stressed out. So this kind of book has been exactly what I need. And based on how much I like Leah Lewis's previous novels, I think that this is going to be one that I love. Now, the next one is a book that I know I have talked about before when I bought it over a year ago, and I just have no reason why I haven't picked it up yet, and that is Dolores Clayborn by Stephen King. As I am doing my series on Stephen King on my channel, I've been really wanting to dive more into his books, at least one a month. I am currently reading one. I hope to read this before the month's end, so we'll see how that goes. But if you aren't sure what this is about, it's basically just a confession from this woman named Dolores Clayborn, who is accused of killing the woman she works for as a housekeeper. Now, of course, she claims that she didn't do it, but she has a story to tell, and the entire book is written like there are no chapters. This book is just text. And I don't know, I think this just seems like it's going to be a good one. A lot of people really love this book, and honestly, I started to listen to the audiobook a few months back, and I don't know why, it just didn't stick with me, but this would be such a cool, like, one-woman show. I don't know. We'll see how I feel after I read it, but it just seems like it could really be, like, a really interesting as a play, and, you know, with maybe just, like, her. I don't know for sure if there's any other characters, but it's, like, literally just her talking, so I think that would be really cool. So I'm looking forward to reading this and knocking another Stephen King book off of my list. Next is Perfect Little World by Kevin Wilson. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know that he is an author that I have just grown to love. He wrote one of my favorite books last year, Nothing to See Here, and I also loved his book, Now Is Not the Time to Panic. I just can't get enough of his writing. It's so cute and quirky, and I just think his stories are so much fun. A little bit serious, a little bit not. And that is exactly what I kind of like in books these days. So this is about a woman named Isabel who is pregnant, and she's just a little lost in life. She knows she's going to be a good mother, but she's just really anxious about how she's going to make that happen. She doesn't have any money, any relatives to help her, so she's in a bit of a situation. But then she meets this doctor named Dr. Preston Grind. He is a child psychologist, and he is starting to do a study where a bunch of people with children raise their children in a community. So this group has 10 children, and they are basically being raised collectively from this whole group of adults. And it gets, you know, complicated as families do. So I just think this sounds like a really interesting concept. And I read a book not too long ago that had a sort of similar premise. I mean, it actually was only similar in like that one aspect because it was a thriller, and I'll talk about it at the end of the month. It seems like a really fun book. It seems like a really interesting look at family dynamics and how we all react in certain situations to and based on those family dynamics. And also the cover is so cute. I just think that is adorable. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one. I really think it'll be 5 stars. So far, the only book that I've read by Kevin Wilson that I didn't give 5 stars to was a collection of short stories called Baby, You're Gonna Be Mine. And I thought some of them were 5 stars, some of them were not. So as short story collections go. But his novels, I've loved them all. My next 5-star prediction is Ellipses by Vanessa Lawrence. So this is almost a Devil Wears Prada, but make it queer and cosmetics. So I think that sounds really awesome. So it follows a woman named Lily who is kind of down in the dumps. She is a journalist, but things aren't going great for her. She feels that her job is going to be completely taken over soon by the internet because she is a print journalist. And she ends up meeting this woman, Billy, who is a cosmetics mogul, and they kind of form this friendship. Billy is really insistent that she kind of mentor Lily. Lily is a little bit more resistant to the internet because basically all of this mentoring is through text messages, and hence the ellipses, those little dots when you're waiting for someone to reply. But I just think this sounds really good. I love anything to do with like social media. I love kind of the concept of an imbalance of power, kind of. There was a book I read last year, Under the Influence, that had a similar kind of vibe, and I just thought that was amazing. So I think that I'm really gonna love this, and I do have the audiobook as well, so I am thinking of kind of doing like a tandem read with both of those, but I think that I'm gonna love this and I can't wait to report back. And the last book on my 5-star predictions is The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer. Now this book is about a woman named Clover who is a death doula. So essentially she goes to people who are dying and kind of helps them come to terms with their death and figure out how to, you know, die with no regrets peacefully. And then she ends up with a client who kind of, she ends up on a weird like mission to give this woman peace, and it goes from there. Now I did start reading this about 10 months ago, I can't remember, but right when it came out, I was so excited about this book, and I was actually about 30-40% into it, and then I got the news that my dad had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, so I was not really interested in reading about death. Now obviously, that's still hard for me to read, but it's settled in a little bit more. I've had more time to process it, and so I am ready to give this book another shot. This is actually my book club's pick for February, so I think that it'll at least have a lot of good discussion topics. I feel like I'm still gonna get a little bit of weird feelings just because I remember so clearly that what I was reading this when I got that news, but I'm hoping that it will still end up being a 5-star, and honestly, I feel like it could be kind of cathartic for me to be reading about this and like how to go on without having regrets towards my situation and whatnot. So I really do think that this is going to be 5 stars. So those are my 5-star predictions for now. Of course, I'm always hoping every book that I read is a 5-star, but that's just impossible. So these ones are definitely on my radar and ones that I'm hoping will just knock that out for me. I have been reading pretty slowly lately. It's been a little bit more challenging for me to get through books. I've just been busy, and even when I'm not, I feel like my head is 100 different places. So I think that all of these have a really good shot of holding my attention and just generally being books that I am excited to pick up again every time I put it down. So here's hoping. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would really love it if you would. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!